All right, so rain has played Spoilsport once again. Due to that, we didn't get enough play actually. There was a short period of play that we had for today. And, Pakistan was bowled out for 236. And in the end, the way things stand at this point of time is that England has lost 1 wicket for 7 runs. It's been an interesting series so far, except for the fact that, we've seen some competitive streaks from both the sides, but rain has really been frustrating for all of us who want some cricket back. And that's what we saw today as well. The ball was doing a bit when Mohammad Abbas and Shaheen Shah were bowling, but of course we couldn't really get enough overs in the day. I've been joined once again by Monty Panesar. Monty, thank you so much once again for joining. Not much to review, considering there's not a lot of cricket that's happening, but it's just so frustrating as a cricketer, even when you're on field or even as a spectator, when you have things like that at a halt, especially when you see that the conditions are ideal for playing.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on your show again, Zainab. And I agree with you. It's very frustrating and it's very difficult to engage because the weather in England is just one of them ones. Once you get a bit of cloud cover, it suddenly starts raining. If it's really hot, like it's been this week, depends which part of England you're in. It's been you feel like you're in Spain, while you're in England, but. In Southampton, it's just like it's the rain's been everywhere, and it's difficult. It's very difficult for the groundsman to know what to do. And then if the ground is really wet, then you don't want some of the bowlers to get injured. That's the last thing you want. So you're looking for the safety for the players as well.
I mean, this is one of the things that's being spoken about, and there's a lot of chat around the fact whether the groundsman could have really got the ground ready in time, because there was a period when it stopped raining, and almost as when it stopped raining, they announced that there is not going to be any further play because of the fact that they can't get the ground ready. I mean, do you think that there was also that conjecture that there's been a rather lack of effort from the ground staff? I mean, do you think that that's a fair call to say that perhaps they could have been, a little more proactive in getting things ready?
Well, I think, under these circumstances, what surprises me, there aren't more members of staff, with the groundsmen. They do such a hard job in getting, the pitches ready and especially when it's raining, there's a lot of work to be done there. And I feel like they were understaffed. They should have had, a few more members of staff there. Especially, everybody wants to see cricket, to be live on sport. It's been such a long time. And especially when Pakistan are in a good position for a change, they were very good and they could have easily skittled England out, especially, blowing the top order away. So I feel that, they missed a trick there. They should have had more, staff around, and there's something that they need to look at, especially with the one days and possibly the next test match as well. And there's a lot more cricket to be played in England. If there is a bit of rain around, just have more members of staff. We just want to see, cricket to be played live.
What about, I mean, this is obviously a long-term discussion, but what about having, roofs on those grounds just to cover them? Is that even a remote possibility in future? Because we even saw during the World Cup, Monty, that there were so many games that were washed out, and it was just so sad because until you got the heat wave much later on in July, things kind of got better. But before that, there was a game that was washed out between Pakistan and Sri Lanka. I was there covering it, and Pakistan lost out on a point in the end. If you remember, they were tied on points with New Zealand, and New Zealand went through because they had a better net run rate, and it was all down to that. From a Pakistan perspective, it was down to that one game that was washed out against Sri Lanka. They could have effectively had 2 points and gone through. I mean, this is just an example that I'm giving of how things can change. Do you think that there is that possibility ever of having a proper roof on these stadiums?
Well, that's something to think about. I think in the future, but it's the funding for it and also the technology, available. I think places like Australia, it's more likely to happen because they've got already stadiums with roofs on there. But in England, we don't really have anything as such. But the only thing that come close to mind is the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff, which it has a roof, but that's for rugby, rugby and football. They don't really do anything for cricket, and it's look, it's something to think about, but it'll cost a lot of money as well. And is there technology available as well, to have roof on cricket pitches? I think we know in America, with the NBA, NFL, they have roof stadiums, but the stadiums are not as big as a cricket stadium. Cricket stadiums are really big, and it really just depends, if they got the technology and a cost for it.
Mm. And of course, like you said, it's also about the funding as well. They have to look at budgets are different for all kinds of different sports, but it is at least an option that can be looked into, because like I said, there have been far too many occasions, for a place like England, which provides you an extremely exciting contest on the field when there is cricket going on. Surely there has to be some solution to get things moving.
Well, I think I agree with you. I think we've seen some great ideas in terms of the pink ball test matches being played, and we've seen some of the changes in one-day cricket. And this is the next stage, really, isn't it? Is to get roof stadiums, and to do that, it obviously will cost a lot of money. But I'm sure they can, have temporary roofs sort of setups in place where they know that the weather's not going to be too great, and they can still play. Just imagine when it's pouring down with rain and you're still playing cricket because you've got a roof. That's something is very, very possible. Something to look. I think it's something that the ICC should look into. Should look into providing stadiums with some roof, and there must be like you have a drop-in pitch. You can have sort of temporary roof, and sort of have a massive net or a tent as such. You don't necessarily need to actually have built-in roofs, so that's that's a lot much more cost effective rather than put in the roof for the stadium, which I think will be very, very expensive.
Okay, that is obviously something that the administrators and people who are involved, the stakeholders need to perhaps look at. But one of the other things that was being spoken about, or which was being discussed, was one option is to start the games early if there is a situation of bad light, like we saw on day 3 as well. That there was that issue going on, the floodlights were on, and due to safety and security reasons, obviously the umpires went off the ground. And do you think that you see that in other parts of the world where we have seen that test matches do start earlier than what we see in England? Do you think that it's a possibility in such situations, just to sort of save time and get more cricket on?
I think that's a reasonable statement, and it's a fair point from you. I think they should have started 1 hour early, because they knew that there was bad light being sort of held play at the back end of each day, and it's something that we've always had a problem amongst our cricket in England. We stick to tradition. Tradition is massive for us. 11 o'clock games got to start. We've got 18 counties. And we have 2 divisions. People talked about, why don't we have 3 divisions of 6? And it's been the COVID-19 that the Bob Willis Trophy has somehow got 3 divisions. And actually the cricket's become a lot more competitive. People are going out there to win games, to post totals, to score runs quickly. You got to take wickets as well. There's not that normally having sort of 18 games to play. So I think the ECB is difficult for the ECB, because there's tradition as well, that they can't just in the subcontinent, I've seen it because of the G factor, we start 1 hour early, but here it's the same thing. If there's going to be bad light by 5 o'clock, why can't we start at 10? And it's because tradition. You know, the ECB are bound by tradition, and you know, we like to ring
But
the
the world
bells.
is evolving, Monty. The world is evolving now. Cricket is evolving.
Well, I just don't think the ECB is as fast paced. You know, we won the Cricket World Cup, and you know, I'm sure we'll, you know, we'll, you know, bring in some new programs and new things in place. But things just take time. We have committees, we have, like, you know, hierarchical structure as well, and then things just take a lot longer. You know, I've heard it all the time amongst the players when I played for England. And even, you know, one thing what we've seen is like the Ashley Giles. You know, I'm glad he's the managing director. He's played at test level, so he would know what's the common sense prevails. You know, I'm sure he's probably thinking, why can't we start at 10 o'clock now? But then we have, like, you know, a committee above us, and we have the MCC, you know, spirit of cricket to adhere to as well. So there's a lot of committees, and especially in this country, we have this very much a, you know, you have to speak to the person above you, and the business setup is organized, and setup is, like, you know, hierarchical. So to make any changes, you know, there's a few meetings you're going to have, and tradition says cricket starts at 11 a.m. So you can't just change it, you know, and say it's got to start at 10 a.m.
Well, I mean, I would rather have some cricket rather than not having any at all, sticking to tradition. But that's just a personal view. But tell me, I mean, are you one for the pink ball being used in tests?
I think so. I think the pink ball is really good. I think it draws a different, you know, viewership as well. There's people who don't maybe, you know, are traditional cricket enthusiasts, cricket fans, and then you're tapping into a market which just love watching cricket because it's the pink ball, you know,
Yeah.
and something different. So yeah, look, these things, I think, you know,
Does
it's
it have
important
any
that we keep.
cons though? I mean, how is it going to be different to the one that's being used now? How is it going to change the situation for bowlers or even the
Well,
batters? Yeah.
well, apparently it swings a lot more. You know, the pink ball does swing a lot more, and also it once the hardness goes, the wicket it isn't as flat, you know, for the bowlers either. So it's you know, bowlers are always in the game, and the pink ball kind of, like, you know, projects that. But also it isn't as quick off the pitch like the red ball is.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the pink ball, you can see that it swings a bit more, but it holds into the pitch a little bit more as well. So from that perspective, look, the game does always needs to be reinvented, and I think you got a great point. You know, we should have started at 10 a.m. You know, if it were other parts of the world, these decisions would have been made, but because, like, it's, you know, in England, any changes to be made, you have to go through, like, a process, and it could be a small thing of, like, why don't we just start at 10 a.m.? Why do we have to start at you know, 11? And maybe tomorrow, if it's a great day, they may just think, look, let's start a little bit early, get more cricket in. And if at the back end of the day, if it's a bit of bad light, at least we get, let's say, you know, 98 overs is the max you can get. So it's a perfect point. There's a lot of things, you know, in English cricket which were common sense prevails, but it's so difficult to get to these decisions because there's so many committees we have to go through, you know. So I think a
So it's a
prime
very long
example
and
is,
tedious process to even get something so simple done. I mean, in any other part of the world, I can tell you if it was Pakistan, it would be an overnight decision and it would be implemented the next day.
and I think that's the difference between some of the countries. You know, they're just a bit more open to change. They're open. You know, they're open to make, you know, changes very quickly. But in England, it doesn't work like that. And it's, you know, it's something they would consider. They would probably sit down, have a meeting, you know, and then think. And like someone like Andrew Strauss, you know, who's the chairman of the ECB committee, is something he would probably consider. And it's good that we've got likes of Andrew Strauss, you know, Ashley Giles, who have played cricket at the highest level. They'll probably sit down and, you know, think, actually, you know, we should have probably started at 10 a.m. You know, we needed more cricket on board. And I think changes will start happening a lot quicker because we've got people in the committee who have played at the highest level.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, long debate altogether, and there's so many different perspectives and views on it. But one can only hope that things do change for the betterment of the game, because at the end of the day, we are also talking about making cricket more global and inviting more people to watch it. Obviously, if there's going to be rain all day and so many delays, nobody's going to sit behind the TV and keep on waiting, right? We're living in a very fast-paced environment and world as it is. So that's another debate altogether. But coming back to the cricket itself, judging by the conditions and the movement that the Pakistan bowlers were getting, it almost seems like that 230 odd score is not bad after all.
Yeah, I think Pakistan done really well, and we kind of saw a different side to Pakistan. Where the conditions were tough for them, and possibly Azhar Ali was probably thinking maybe I got the decision wrong. And in England, the rain, you got to, the next test match, I'm sure he'll probably be looking at, the rain for the next 5 days. That's one thing you do. And I remember Michael Vaughan, he would always look at the weather forecast for the next 5 days before he'd think about the toss. Because we know that there's one place in the world, which is only in England, when the weather changes, suddenly the conditions change dramatically. And now it just feels like we're in start of the season in April, and it's a first game, and the ball is hooping everywhere. It's very difficult for batsmen. And it's a shame. We've only got a day left in the match, and if tomorrow hopefully is a full day, I think Pakistan have got a really good opportunity to put some psychological blows in the England batting lineup, because I know throughout a test series, if you've got a hand on one bowler, or if you bowl like that great hoop that Shine Afridi bowled today, that was an absolute magical delivery, and he got Rory Burns out, it'll be playing in his mind. He's already made an adjustment. He's probably thinking, well, I've made an adjustment in my stance. I should be able to line up the ball well. But if he gets the ball to late swing, he is vulnerable. He can get out as well. And that's what they should be thinking. The likes of Azhar Ali should be thinking that, right, I want to get wickets tomorrow. I want to think that, we still got 3 days left in the test match. This is the second day of the test match. And really show that intensity and try and get as many wickets as they can tomorrow, because the more they get, then there'll be that psychological blow and the confidence that they can then take into the third test match.
Mm-hmm. And Rory Burns, he's not had a great series so far, at least against Pakistan. And we saw against West Indies, he was chipping in with a few runs. But, I was speaking to Athas about this as well, and about what kind of options England has, what are the players that are coming through in the county circuit. And, he said that these two are the best that we have from what we've seen in our county circuit. Like they've scored the most amount of runs. Yet, Monty, it seems like he's finding it so difficult. And, whether that's down to obviously Pakistan bowling or just generally the conditions, do you think that these two are going to be given a longer run, or how long a run do you think they'll be given?
Well, Rory Burns played 20 test matches already, and Dominic Sibley's played about 10 as well now. The problem is with these two openers that their technique is very much manufactured. It's not something you would teach a young Pakistani batsman from the coaching book. It's you look at their technique and you kind of think, gosh, they make batting look really hard work with their trigger movements and where their bat position is, but it's worked for them. They've got lots of runs with it. And but then there's another batsman who's very natural. He's a natural batsman, and he scored 100 for Notts, Ben Duckett, and he's a really good left-hander. And I just hope that he has the game for Test cricket, to open the batting, because I think that's one area which England are always going to be questioning, because of the likes of the inexperience that they both show, Rory Burns and Dominic Sibley. When the ball's moving around with that new ball, you're always going to think they probably can at any time get out. And it's difficult for them because they're still learning their cricket. And I think they've shown a lot of character, a lot of maturity, how to develop their game. But it's easier to pick a cricketer he's got natural talent technique is very natural, you know, makes cricket look easy. And that's Ben Duckett. You know, he scored a fabulous 100 for Notts. And I really hope that, you know, he's able to score 100 against, let's say, the moving ball. You know,
Yeah.
that's what the selectors will be looking at. They'll be thinking, well, if we want, you know, if we do want to bring in new players into the England lineup, then we need players who can do well against the new ball. And I hope, you know, he's able to do that, you know, and when he's, you know, when the ball is moving, I hope he's just thinking, you know what, I wanna stay in, because this could be the difference between me getting that test selection or not getting into the test squad.
And you know, this one of the things that is being said is that generally England is the most difficult place to bat for, you know, especially for openers. With the new ball, you look all around the world, it is perhaps the most difficult place to bat. But England has seen its share of great openers too. You know, you've had the likes of Alistair Cook, you know, Andrew Strauss. The list is endless in that sense. But you know, let's see how it goes for these two. But for now, like you said, tomorrow's day, although I have seen the weather forecast and it is going to be raining again. It's just been a completely rain-marred test match that we've seen. But for Pakistan bowlers, one of the positives is that their bowlers haven't bowled enough. So all that talk and chatter around the third test and how they're going to have to rotate their bowlers because they're going to have bowled so many overs by that time, that kind of goes out of the window because they haven't really bowled at all in this test. Of course, tomorrow is going to be you know, that we will, if we get any play, we'll see them in action. But we pretty much know where this test match is going, unless Pakistan has some other plans. I have no idea. But like, what I'm saying is that do you think this is going to be an advantage for them, for their bowlers to be fresh before the third test?
Yeah, I think it's going to help them. I think you're spot on there. They haven't bowled as much, and that's going to, you know, help the Pakistani bowlers to, you know, rest and recover. You know, the third test match is going to be, you know, Pakistan just got to think of this, you know, like this energy that they brought in the first test match. You know, they didn't play for such a long time, and I think Pakistan always bring that sort of, you know, intensity into the match, but also that enthusiasm that they show, especially on the field. So I think that's what Pakistan need to do. They got to just think, you know, if they can draw the series and find a way of winning in the third test match, I think that'll be a great result. You know, I think that's something that Azhar Ali will be very happy with, and also Pakistan as well. And but they need to play some good cricket. They need to play the same level of cricket that they did in the first test. They can't just now, you know, we've seen in the past Pakistan start off well on a tour, and suddenly they just, you know, collapse like a pack of cards. You know, it's like that domino effect. Suddenly, just everything just collapsed. Once they start collapsing, they're just all out. And I was very impressed with the Pakistan batting lineup. You know, there were 5 for like 120. They could have, we thought, oh, here we go again. You know, 150, 160 all out. But they hanged in there. You know, they showed a bit of a application on conditions. Let's be honest. You know, it is a little bit, you know, difficult for them. But that's what it's about. When you go on these away tours as a cricket player, you wanna go away and think, actually, you know, the conditions were tough, but it's improved my game, and I'll become a better cricketer from it. And that's what you want. You know, after end of the tour, you want most of the Pakistan players to think, actually, I learned how to maybe swing the ball better. I learned in different conditions how to, you know, what areas to bowl the ball. I became a better lever of the ball during tough conditions like Babar Azam. You know, he showed the discipline that, yeah, he can leave the ball and play the shots. And I think that's what you want. You know, Misbah, that's what he'll probably be thinking, you know, when he's ticking off every player end of the series. How much improvement have they made? How much improvement is Azhar Ali making in his decision making as a captain, and how are rest of the other players improving? And that's what it is. You know, you want this young Pakistan team to make the most of these English conditions and improve their cricket as well.
Yeah, well, let's hope that we get some play, because the forecast is not looking great for any of the days. But that's, of course, something which is completely out of our control at this point of time. Could be managed better, but that is something for up for a debate later on. But yeah, thank you so much for your time, Monty. Let's hope that Pakistan, well, let's hope we get a competitive game tomorrow. At least we get something out of what we've seen so far. We haven't really had any cricket, so I think the fans are generally deprived, and they'd like to see, at least from a Pakistan perspective, Mohammad Abbas running in and bowling, and all the other guys as well chipping in as well. So let's hope we get a game. And thank you so much once again for your thoughts. I'll get you on tomorrow as well to review the test that never happened, but the little bit that we saw, and of course gearing up, looking ahead to the third test.